Tech Tales 59, June 16th on a Wednesday morning. Going to talk about some time slips, but before we do that, got a little story to tell you. My 7-year-old grandson, Braden, has an iPhone. How does a 7-year-old get an iPhone, you ask? Well, he got it himself. So what's a person to do? He bent down and picked it up off the beach at the lake. That's how he got it himself. But what does a 7-year-old do with an iPhone? Pretend to be talking to somebody? No, not my grandson. His middle name is Douglas, by the way. I'm going to show you what he does with that iPhone. Here you go. Let me zoom into that so you see that better. He's taking it apart and working on it with a screwdriver. I think I'm going to have fun with this grandson. Oh, I already do, of course. All right, so let's come back to time slips. Going back to a couple weeks ago, this is Wednesday, June 2nd, an hour and 8 minutes. This is for the cabling company, Mike, and for Charlie in that office, 11:34 to 12:42. Phone and remote support regarding emails not coming to his computer and unable to send emails from Orders Plus via Outlook on his computer. Uninstalled and reinstalled Foxit PDF reader to fix the missing email button in Foxit. Emails for Outlook are coming in and no explanation found for the missing emails. So there's actually a two-piece problem here. Now, this is the company that I've talked about many times about the SBC Global, ATT.net, Gmail, and Outlook 2007, and the issues that we're having with passwords on that, and we got a workaround implemented for that. So now this is him saying that emails aren't coming into his computer. The SBC Global account is configured to forward emails to his Gmail account, and that's how all along he's been getting, or for a long time, he's been receiving the SBC Global emails on his Outlook. So he says they're not coming in. Oh, by the way, also, our point of sale program, Orders Plus, isn't sending emails through my computer using Outlook. So when we look closer at that problem, there is a button that was missing from his screen. Now, he didn't tell me that in the verbal description of what's going on. So if I was unable to connect to his computer and have him show me what's happening, I probably would have taken a while to figure out that's what was going on. And somehow there's a connection between Foxit Reader, which is a PDF reader, in place of, it does some more things that Adobe Acrobat Reader won't do. And that program would provide a button for him to click on to send the emails, and they just weren't there. So just uninstalling and reinstalling brought that button back. And then at that point, Outlook was now receiving new emails, but there was a group of emails during a period of time that were not received. Now, these are 3 computers that actually receive the emails. No, that's not right. 2 that receive the emails into Outlook once they're forwarded from the SBC Global to the Gmail. Well, the other computer had received those emails during the time when Charlie's computer wasn't. So they had all the emails, and now they're coming in on both computers. And we don't know why it was broken for a while. It appears to have been broken during the time that Foxit Reader, that button was missing for sending emails that were of content that was generated from their point of sale software through Outlook 2007. So back into that just messy thing, and that's all going to get fixed because they're in the process of transitioning to a web-based point of sale software, and we're going to be installing new computers. So we're just not trying to find the right correct solution. This whole thing has been patches and band-aids for quite some time. Then for the chiropractic office on Wednesday, June 2nd, 14 minutes, 12:49 to 1:03 p.m. for golf in that office. He's the chiropractor, the owner of the business. Phone and remote support to fix Dragon Naturally Speaking, solved by closing non-responding dictation box using Alt Tab and X for close technique when other methods failed. So this was now this is kind of interesting. He uses Dragon Naturally Speaking to do his chiropractic reports. Lots of long, complicated words of bones and stuff in the body, and I'm not even going to try to say any of the conditions. They got these crazy long words, you know. We bought just the standard edition of Dragon Naturally Speaking many years ago and installed it, and boom, right off the bat, it's accurately translate or transcribing these long, complicated words with very little training needed. Amazing. But anyway, he got to a point where he couldn't get it to work, and the solution, the dictation box would be showing on the taskbar at the bottom, but it wouldn't open, and he couldn't get it closed. Well, Alt-Tab would bring up the Alt-Tab box that's got all the different programs you have open right now, and he could point to the X there and close it. And of course, in task would also be an alternative for doing that, and then it would relaunch and work fine. So then let's move on to Thursday, June 3rd, 1 hour 52 minutes. The apartment building golf, working with Charlie in the office. Well, this time slip is named for Charlie. I was in the office at this time. Examined failing network switch. I've told you about this before, where I have them unplug it and plug it back in. That would bring this network switch back online and restore their internet connection. Examined failing network switch considering replacement options. Tested security camera configurations. Researched records regarding the unknown programming of the managed switch. Discussed issues with an individual at the network cabling company that had worked on this in the past. Discuss concerns with Charlie, search for appropriate replacement switch, and place the order. In previous time slips, I had reported that this was a managed switch. Well, the reason why I had said that is because in the past, there had been computers that I was trying to get to interact with the Toshiba copy machine. Computer was able to ping the machine, not able to send a print job to it. Computer was able to access the internet. Computer was not able to access other computers in the office because that's just not something we do. So didn't even attempt that. Back when I was having that problem years ago, I moved the Ethernet cable from one port to another, and then it would work. And I deduced from that particular switch was a managed switch. And yes, it is indeed a managed switch, but that's not the switch that's currently having the problem. The one that's currently having the problem is just a standard unmanaged switch. Now, the phone call to the company that had done the Ethernet cable and installed the Wi-Fi, the unified Wi-Fi devices, I called him asking if he had installed the box and the managed switch, and I was thinking maybe he did the alarm system. I was thinking maybe he did that switch, and basically he said no, he didn't. He did wiring, but he didn't even do the Ubiquiti Unify Wi-Fi. I still have a hard time believing that. Now, I've told in prior time slip where with another company, a technician had denied doing something, and then I proved that he did. I kind of think this person did do it and maybe he's not remembering it, but it's irrelevant to this issue. He was holding on to no ownership of a programmed switch in that office. I was thinking maybe he put in a programmed switch so that he could isolate the Wi-Fi communications from the network. So at this point it was irrelevant, and when I came to realize, well, wait a minute, the switch we're having troubles with is an unmanaged switch. So I'm just going to put an unmanaged switch in there, which should be fine. Still doesn't answer to me though about that managed switch. Now also during this time I have a thing here where I tested the security cameras. So what I want to do with that is figure out which wires in the box were connected to the cameras. So there's a couple different bundles of wires going in there, unclear which is for cameras and which is for computers just by looking at them. So I started pulling wires when I figured out which ones I thought were the cameras, and I was working with the security supervisor at the time so that he could tell me which cameras would turn off when I unplugged wires. And I was surprised to find that I would unplug one Ethernet cable and 3 cameras would go out. So that means there's another switch somewhere, and that switch is a power over Ethernet, which makes total sense. And that's part of why I suspected maybe that's the one. Now this one that's power over Ethernet, that's the one that's the managed switch. Now this also means that at some point in time, I'm deducing that I had one of their computers connected through that switch. And I do know that these 2 switches are daisy chained to each other. So they're working off the same router and they're all on the same IP subnet. Do I really know that though? Do I know the cameras are on the same IP subnet? Because it's a managed switch. So those ports for the cameras could be on a different IP address. So there's been multiple vendors over the years, not always documenting information between each other. We did have conversations, but I think that's a little bit of a gap, and lesson learned from there is from my seat as the network support, computer support, I want to have better information when there's security cameras involved or alarms involved, that I want to know what they're doing in terms of how they're connecting. And that hasn't been the case. Now also during those times, what was it? There were times when other management in this office had their hands in the mix, and there was where I would get a phone call one day, hey, we got somebody out here installing security cameras. Oh, really? They didn't talk to me ahead of time about it. And I guess it's not obvious to them that they should have, because they're working with all the network stuff, and that they'd be calling me because the technician would be asking questions that I needed to be involved in. So I'm fessing up, I guess, that I have had contacts from clients about other vendors and they're doing things with cameras, and I have not taken the initiative to gather or collect or ask for the information that I ought to have documented in my records. So talking through this time slip, I think, is affirming that lesson to me in a stronger way. So we're going to end this session here, and I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.